If there's anything that you want, if there's anything I can do, just call on me and I'll send it along with love from me to you.
Hey, Clay Blair of Boulevard Recording. I wanted to start a new video series on drums and the Beatles. My friend Brendan is joining us today. He's a great drummer. He also plays Ringo in a couple of Beatles bands. On all the early Beatles recordings, they were using ribbons on the drums. They were using the SDC 4038, which was the overhead. It's also now known as a Coles 4038. They also were using the SDC 4033A on the kick drum, which was also being utilized on the bass guitar amp. The kick drum mic we're using today is actually a Western Electric 639B. This was made by Altec as well. This is the American version of the SDC 4033A. It's slightly different, but the design is very much the same and they work very much the same. Also, as usual, there's a U48 around for vocals. So just like they were doing, we have a U48 up in front of the kit where the vocals would have been. At this point at Abbey Road, they were using the red 37 desk. From Me to You, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand. All of these songs were recorded through the red 37 desk up until January of 1964 when they introduced the red 51 desk. The unique thing to know about the red 37 and the red 17 desks is that they were V72S driven, which is a preamp you might have heard of. It wasn't until 1964 when the red 51 desk arrived that they ended up using the red 47 preamp. I don't happen to have any V72s, but we do happen to have a couple of the red 47 preamps, and they do sound a little bit different. The V72s are known to be a little softer and a little flatter, while the red 47s are known to be a bit punchier and brighter. I'm going to solo the Coles 4038. It is the SDC 4038. The only difference in the SDC and the Coles is that the Coles are 200 ohms and the SDC mics were 50 ohms.
First real drum kit that he bought for himself. It was actually a mismatched drum kit made by Premier Drums in England, and it was like a root beer sparkle. The sizes for his drums were a 20-inch bass drum, like this one, a 12-inch rack tom, and he was actually using a 16-inch floor tom for the Premier catalog. That kit actually didn't exist, so he pretty much bought drums mismatched and then put the kit together. And then with that kit, he utilized calfskin drum heads all the way around. And keep in mind with Premier drum shells, they were undercut. So for example, a 12-inch tom was really 11 7/8. And then a floor tom, actually I think the floor toms were a little oversized. So a bit of a mystery there. But today, these drums are more like Ringo's first Ludwig drum kit that he received in England prior to Beatlemania in America. The snare drum used on the original recording was actually a Premier root beer sparkle piccolo drum. His piccolo drum had calfskin heads, and it was a very tight, dry sounding snare drum. We utilized the same type of muffling techniques today, but we used Ringo's 5.5 by 14 Jazz Festival. A lot thicker snare, but like I said, use your ears, put a cigarette pack on the snare, dry it out, and have just enough snap, and you'll be in that ballpark. For cymbals, it's kind of a mystery on the hi-hats for the Introducing the Beatles / Please Please Me record. Some say they were 15-inch hats, and today we used hi-hats similar, these 602 Arbiter Customs. Also on the original recording, Ringo would have used what I think is an Ajax cymbal, Paiste Istanbul, and then Ajax. They were made in the same factory, just different stamps. Has a very large bell. It's probably the cymbal you hear right at the end of the song. And then he most likely used an 18-inch Zin. And there's two different Zins. There's a cheaper one and then a not cheaper one. You can find the Super Zin. That's probably most likely what Ringo used on the Please Please Me record. And yeah, he didn't use that many cymbals.
So actually I'm using a couple of plugins on the drums here as they would have used on the console at Abbey Road. One thing about the Coles mics, or the SDC mics I should say, is they're pretty dark, but they take EQ really well. So what I've actually got is one of the RS127 Brilliance boxes up, made by Softtube. And this thing is great. It really works well on Coles. I'm boosting 10K at 10 dB, which is a lot. But it sounds good to my ears, and the Coles takes it really well. I'm not really doing anything to the kick drum at the moment. There was not a ton of low end on those early records, you might notice, and part of that's the way they mic'd everything, and also they were cutting a bit as well, I'm sure, because they were cutting to records. And Abbey Road was really strict on how much low end they let out on their albums. So usually when I do these kind of Beatle recordings, I always put the J37 on every single channel. And the cool thing about this is it emulates 3 different tape formulas. It emulates the 888, the 811, and the 815. Those were all custom-made formulas of tape that EMI made. I'm pretty sure on this early stuff they were using the 888 formula, but the most popular tape box you're going to see in pictures, and if you own the Beatles recording book, the actual packaging is a replica of the tape box, and that would have been the 811 tape. They all sound different, they saturate different. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please share, like, and subscribe. We're going to be doing a couple of more of these drum videos. We're definitely going to do a mid-period Beatles around Help and Rubber Soul. So if you guys have any song requests you want us to do, put it below and we'll show you how it was recorded. Also, my favorite is going to be Sgt. Pepper's. We did the bass video, we're going to do the drums. And then last but not least, we're going to cover Abbey Road and how they recorded the drums on maybe the famous The End. Thank you again for watching.